Today, we're diving into the wild history of how America has measured firewood, from the colonial era to the frontier days, all the way to the standards we use today. This is the story of the cord, the measurement made for American fireplaces and wood stoves. Stick around as we break down the facts and clear up the firewood confusion. Welcome to American Outdoors. Where does the term cord of wood come from? Let's roll back to 1620, Plymouth, Massachusetts. The Mayflower has barely landed, and settlers like William Bradford are already scribbling in their journals about wood collection, using terms such as heaps and piles. Back then, families cut, split, and stacked firewood themselves, men, women, and children all pitching in. It was all about survival. But not everyone could gather their own firewood, so they had to buy it from others in the community. The problem? There was no standard way to measure it. Some records suggest a typical family burned 20 to 40 cords of wood in a single winter. Fast forward to 1647 in Salem, Massachusetts, and the lack of uniformity in firewood sales led to legal trouble. A merchant named John Holgrave was dragged into court, accused of shorting a buyer on 2 loads of wood, a load being what many believe was an early version of what we now call a cord. That's where the idea was likely born for a standardized, uniform measurement for a group of firewood. A standard stack about 4 feet high, 4 feet wide, and 8 feet long, totaling 128 cubic feet. Why that size? Well, it fit the ox carts rumbling down trails and was about equal to the number of pieces a man could chop before his arms gave out. By the way, the French word for cord means rope, and going back to medieval times, a length of rope was often used as a means of measuring out dimensions. Jump to 1716. New Hampshire's colonial assembly gets fed up with 100 sizes fit all guesswork. So, they put it in writing. Firewood shall be sold by the cord, 8 feet long, 4 high, 4 wide. Boom, the cord's official, 128 cubic feet. Now, if only everyone could count. But it only applied in New Hampshire. Down in Philadelphia, Ben Franklin still isn't satisfied. In his 1749 Poor Richard's Almanac, he's griping about cheating woodmongers, tossing a few sticks and calling it a cord. He, too, pushes for standards, and by 1754, Pennsylvania's got its own cord law echoing New Hampshire's. Then the Revolution hits, 1777, Valley Forge. General Washington's troops are freezing, and he's ordering 20 cords per regiment just to keep them alive. The 19th century is where the term cord becomes widespread. Ohio adopts the standard in 1803, and in 1820, New Hampshire revises its law to say, a cord is 128 cubic feet, well stowed. No more sloppy piles. A Cincinnati ad in 1810 brags about seasoned oak cords at $2 a pop. That's about $45 today. New York follows up by 1828, and Albany's Hudson River docks are buzzing as dock workers wield cord sticks, 8-foot poles, to measure stacks. Out west, firewood becomes a high-priced commodity. By 1849, California gold rush miners are shelling out $100 a cord, over $3,000 today, just to heat their camps in the Sierras. But it still hasn't become the standard everywhere. In the South, businesses around Georgia are selling firewood by the rick, smaller, sloppier stacks. While in 1835 Maine, in State versus Thompson, a guy gets fined $5 for a 100 cubic foot short cord. Midwestern loggers? They're sticking to full cords of oak and hickory. Still, the terms full cord, face cord, rick, stove cord, fathom, load, short cord, and even today's truck cord show how wood measurement was less science and more art, shifting with geography, tools, and needs. The debate had elevated to the level of metric versus imperial, AC versus DC, Blu-ray versus Betamax, less filling versus tastes great. Finally, in 1931, it becomes official across the land. The National Bureau of Standards declares a full cord to be 128 cubic feet. According to Priscilla Brewer's book, From Fireplace to Cookstove, the typical American family in the 19th century burned 18 to 20 cords of firewood a year just to heat their home. Beyond that, enormous amounts of wood were consumed by businesses, steamboats, railroads, and manufacturing plants. As an example, a medium-sized steamboat burned anywhere from 25 to 50 cords of wood a day. In just 1 year, shortly before the Civil War, it was estimated that Pennsylvania's railroads alone consumed some 40 million cords of wood. During the early 20th century, most rural homes, and even some urban ones, still burned wood. Around 60% of homes used firewood in 1900, but that number dropped to 20% by 1950 as coal, oil, and electric grids spread. The U.S. Forest Service pegged wood's share of total energy use at 20% in 1900, sliding to under 5% by 1950. As the need for cordwood declined, post-World War II lumber demand surged, fueling the housing boom. However, since the energy crisis of the 1970s, firewood consumption and the business of selling it has slowly but steadily increased. The full cord is still king, 128 cubic feet, 4 feet high, 4 feet wide, 8 feet long. That's the standard, but it's still not the only standard. Just so you know, a face cord, 4 by 8 by 16 inches, is only a third of a full cord. Down south, a rick might be half a cord, or maybe less. Half cords and quarter cords, 64 or 32 cubic feet, are legitimate splits of the full deal. And to make things even more interesting, we're posting a video, link in the description, showing exactly how much wood you can expect from a 45-foot length of yellow pine, split entirely by hand. But I'll bet you didn't know this. 1 cord of dry maple or hickory kicks out roughly 20 to 24 million BTUs. That's enough to heat a small house for a month in winter. Softwoods like pine, they put out only about half that and are notorious for generating more creosote. Back in the 1800s, a single cord of wood could yield 20 to 30 bushels of charcoal, essential for iron making before coal furnaces took over. A full cord of seasoned hardwood like oak weighs about 3,500 to 4,000 pounds. But green, unseasoned wood? That can tip the scales at 5,000 pounds, enough to strain a modern pickup truck. Seasoned firewood, dried to under 20% moisture, gives off a distinct woody scent, while green, wet wood with over 30% moisture smells faintly sour or musty due to fungal activity. Did you know a cord's burn quality is tied to its tree growth rings? Tight, slow-grown rings in hardwoods like oak from cold climates pack more density and heat than fast-grown, wide-ringed oak trees from warmer zones. And if you're new to heating your home with wood, here's something to keep in mind. That stack of cordwood outside, it's an ecosystem for bugs. Wood roaches, beetles, ants, even hibernating wasps are drawn to the warmth and rot in your woodpile. So don't be surprised if you wake a few up after bringing them inside. If you have questions or comments, post them below. You can also check us out on Facebook, X, and Pinterest for more episodes on all things firewood and wood heat for your home. A like or a subscription is always appreciated. It really helps the channel. From all of us here at American Outdoors, thanks for watching.